What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. Today, I'm pretty much giving you guys my top 10 WrestleMania matches that I personally enjoyed. Now, this is a quick disclaimer. Like I just said, these are my personal favorite top 10 WrestleMania. So, if my WrestleMania matches aren't some of the ones that you may like, I'm sorry. I can't really please everybody. These are my personal favorites. Um, I have four honorable mentions actually. Yeah, I have four honorable mentions, and then I'll get into the other matches. I won't like go full in depth with every match. I might give like a little tidbit, if anything. So just want to throw that out there as well. But the first honorable mention that I gotta put up here is Finn Balor versus The Miz versus Seth Rollins for the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania 34. Now, WrestleMania 34 overall, I did not really enjoy the pay per view. I just feel like some of the decisions that were made were kind of just like last second, I feel like, and it just seemed like they didn't really put a lot of thought into a lot of these matches. I feel like some of them had somewhat okay builds, but then the match didn't really deliver up to the standards that I think a lot of fans, including myself, had for a lot of these matches. You look at the AJ Styles and Shinsuke match, that didn't really live up to a lot of expectations, knowing how really good both of these guys can be, and ultimately it just really just deflated Shinsuke Nakamura's career, where he hasn't been able to recover since then. So, and then you had the god awful Roman Reigns Brock Lesnar match again that nobody really wanted. So I think overall people just have bad thoughts and memories overall for WrestleMania 34. But this match between Finn Balor, The Miz, and Seth Rollins was really, really good. You have Finn Balor, who just came back a couple months prior, who's trying to get another title under his resume. You had literally one of the most over guys at that time, literally being Seth Rollins, going after the Intercontinental Championship, which was the one championship that eluded him in his career. So he was going for his Grand Slam victory and stuff like that, which is really cool. And we were seeing The Miz holding the Intercontinental Championship, who won it from Roman Reigns early in January. And this might be a hot take if you want to be honest, but right now, and for me personally, you got to put literally The Miz in the category for probably one of the greatest Intercontinental champions of all time. I know people would probably put Gunther in there just because of the reign that he had, but I think if you're talking about a character standpoint, and even though he may not have been a Gunther in the ring, he was still very serviceable in the ring as well. So I have to put literally me personally, the greatest Intercontinental champion of all time is The Miz. Like the character work was on point, the matches were decent, like everything was just on point, and I really loved it. He beat Roman Reigns, like I said earlier, in January to win back the Intercontinental Championship. So he was doing some really good work, and you put all three of these guys in there, and they really cooked. They cooked from top to bottom. I think we were getting some good, you know, some good in-ring action from all three guys, and then you had that little sequence towards the end where you did have Seth Rollins. I think he did like a curb stomp to The Miz, and then he did a curb stomp to Finn Balor, and then he pinned Miz to get the Intercontinental Championship win. Y'all comment down below if I got that ending wrong, but I thought overall it was a really good match. Especially it made 34 at least somewhat memorable just because of that match. So yeah, I have to put that on my list. The next match that I'm going to be talking about is also from WrestleMania 34, and that being Cedric Alexander versus Mustafa Ali for the Cruiserweight Championship. These two just have really, really, really great chemistry. These two just have great chemistry for days on end, and like I said, WrestleMania 34 it don't is not remembered for much. If you wanted to say that this match was the best match on WrestleMania 34, I would not argue with you, because this match was really good. It just showed that these two had all the tools to be something very special. The fact that if you look back at WrestleMania 34, besides that triple threat match that I just named, this match is the only other match that I feel like really was good on the show. We had plenty of other matches, but none of which I feel like stood out for me like Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali. And it's crazy to say that one of my favorite matches from WrestleMania 34 outside the IC title wasn't for a World Championship or a US Championship or Intercontinental Championship. It was for the Cruiserweight Championship. How many times can we say that going back to a WrestleMania that one of the best matches on the card was for the Cruiserweight Championship? I'll wait. Exactly. You probably won't say ever. And the fact that we got one of the best matches that was ever produced for a cruiserweight championship, this probably might be the best match for the cruiserweight championship, period, point blank, in its history. And I would literally go back and watch it 10 times over. I'll be honest with you, but I had to put that on the list. The next match that I'm gonna be talking about is Finn Balor versus Edge. The match was really good. The feud going up into it was really good. We had Finn Balor coming into Judgment Day, Edge getting kicked out of Judgment Day, him wanting his vengeance on Judgment Day, trying to take them down brick by brick until there was nothing left of it. And then we did get the ultimate return of the Demon versus Edge at WrestleMania 39. I thought the match was really good. We seen his Finn Balor's head be busted open by a ladder spot, and he had to get stitches. So yeah, I think, and the fact that he kept going, it just so showed his perseverance and how much he really wanted to get that match even more over. And he hit a coup de grace from I think the top of the cell or something like that, which was really cool. And I thought overall the match was really cool. I just didn't really like the ending. I still stand by a lot of fans. I think Finn Balor really should realistically should have won, and I think we did see that recently that Finn Balor was supposed to win. Edge wanted to put him over, but Vince, being Vince, didn't want to put him over. He wanted Edge to get the win there. So it's just kind of one of those situations that we can't really talk too much about. But I think overall the match quality for what they were able to give us was really, really entertaining. On to the next, my final honorable mention, Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley. I didn't really enjoy the feud, but this match, I will say, at the very least, made Rhea Ripley even more over. And I think it was cool to see Charlotte put someone over. We know the one thing about Charlotte, she's not really one to put a lot of people over. But the fact that Rhea Ripley getting the win over Charlotte really catapulted her to a new stratosphere and made her an even bigger star than she already was by winning the Royal Rumble, having this match. It really catapulted her to a new stratosphere. So I had to put that on the list. Now we're starting to get into my top 10 favorite WrestleMania matches. Now, these are not in a particular order. I'm just gonna go at random, and I am looking. If I'm looking down, I'm looking at my phone. So, the first match that I want to put out here is Triple H versus Undertaker, end of an era, WrestleMania 28. Now, I don't remember much about WrestleMania 28, even though I did watch it. But the match that stuck with me the most was Triple H versus Undertaker. These two just have real chemistry. Like you go back to the previous year where they were competing, where it looked like maybe Triple H was going to win, and ultimately Undertaker was able to overcome everything and get up the win and continue his streak. And then here we seen him win, but these two just tried to kill each other in this match. There was one part of this match where I really thought the Undertaker was going to lose his streak when you had that sequence of, I believe it was Shawn Michaels, who's special guest referee. He super kicked Undertaker. He went into a pedigree by Triple H, and then Shawn Michaels goes 1, 2, and kick out at 2.9. This just really got the crowd even more amped up than they already were for this match. I think if you want to be honest, I think this was like the best match in the Triple H Undertaker feud, period, point blank. So if you were to say that, I would not bet an eye at you at all. So automatically got to put that on my list of favorite WrestleMania matches. The next match I'm going to talk about is Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker, WrestleMania 26, career versus streak. This was a no DQ match. We seen the year prior, those two had a great match at WrestleMania 25. Then we seen Shawn Michaels trying to get his way to WrestleMania, similar to a couple years later, which we'll talk about a certain wrestler in just a little bit, but he was trying to find his path to WrestleMania. He found his path with the Undertaker. Undertaker was at Elimination Chamber. He walked in as world champion. Shawn Michaels screwed him over, allowing Chris Jericho to get the win and become your new World Heavyweight Champion. Therefore, segueing into a feud between these two, but it would have been career versus streak. These two went all out, guns blazing. This was a really, really fun match. This is why I think people literally say Shawn Michaels is the GOAT of WrestleMania. This guy just always outshines every single time he steps in that ring. He leaves it all out there. He gives 110% every single time, and this was literally no slouch of a match. This was really top tier match. This was a top tier match. I think if you want to be honest, out of WrestleMania 26, this was the best match hands down. I would say probably the best match of that year. I think this was 2010. Yeah, this was 2010. So this was like my favorite match of that year, honestly. So I have to put that on the list as well. The next match that we're going to be talking about is another match. So we already talked about two matches. We're going to talk about the third match, which is Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, WrestleMania 40. Now, I can honestly put both matches in the same category because both matches were pure cinema from start to finish. Pure cinema. Like, we seen WrestleMania 39 close where it looked like Cody was about to win the championship for Solo to come out there in the black hoodie, Samoan Spike, Cody Rhodes allowing Roman Reigns to hit the spear for the 1, the 2, the 3. The story continued the next night where pretty much it seemed like Cody Rhodes had to fight from the ground up to get another crack at the championship. He won the Royal Rumble in 2023. He had to go throughout the year, go through different tests, both from a physical standpoint and a mental standpoint, to win the Royal Rumble a second time, to literally have that opportunity taken away from him by The Rock, for the fans to be behind him, to rally for him, to continue his story and fight for the championship. He lost at WrestleMania 40 night 1 to literally go to night 2, have a banger of a match once again with Roman Reigns, and then finish his story to become WWE World Champion. This was a really good match. The counters that they were having, the fact that it seemed like as if they just knew each other from the back of their, like they knew what they were gonna do before the other person knew. So it's like I just loved watching that. And a lot of people might come across the video and be like, "Oh, you're recency bias and stuff like that." You can't take away from this match. This match was probably one of the greatest like stories or matches in WWE history. Had there been other ones? Absolutely. But if we're talking current day, this is one of the greatest stories that we've seen told for a world championship. Period, point blank. I had to put that on the list. The next match that we're going to be talking about is Bayley versus Io Sky. Bayley versus Io was being like predicted and told months in advance. I enjoyed the story where they were starting to see little teases here and there. We started to see more teases, start to be seeing it more being coherent that this could be the plan. When we did see Money in the Bank in 2023, where yeah, it was Money in the Bank 2023 where Io won. It was towards the end of the match where Io came back in. Bayley and Becky were trying to fight each other off to climb the ladder. For Io to come in, handcuff both of them to go up the ladder, win the briefcase, and then she went on to SummerSlam to cash in to become WWE Women's Champion. And we were starting to see teases between Bayley and Io, where it started to become more of a power struggle to see who's going to be able to take ownership of damage control. And we were starting to see teases of that throughout the year. And then she goes on to win the Royal Rumble, and then she wasn't going to choose Io. I think they were going to try to plant seeds that it could have been Rhea, which I wouldn't have been mad at. But we were she got a huge pop. She got a huge pop when we started to see they kind of pull like a Batista type of move from 2005, where damage control were talking down on her and she overheard everything. She goes down to the ring and she confronts everybody. She says, "I heard what y'all said. I heard what each and every one of you said." And she even talked it a little bit in Japanese to Io, and then she challenges her for WrestleMania. And then we started to see some other story beats coming in and stuff like that, where Dakota Kai came back, looked like she was going to be on Bayley's side. She turns on her. So now going into WrestleMania, Bayley was going up against everybody, but they didn't have any interference. They just let these two women go out there and cook for the time that they were given, and they gave us an instant classic. This was probably what I already was a fan of EO even going back to NXT. But if you guys weren't a fan of her in NXT, this was the match that I think a lot of people started to really get behind EO because she right now I think is literally one of the best women, or probably not even one of the best woman in WWE right now. If we're talking in ring, she is. She really is. So that match that we got between both of those women, I'm telling you guys, if you guys haven't went and watched that match already, go watch it. You guys are in for a treat. These two absolutely cooked. The next match that we're going to be talking about is from WrestleMania 30. Is Daniel Bryan versus Triple H. I was going to put the triple threat match, but this match between Daniel Bryan and Triple H was really good. Daniel Bryan going up against the authority figure, pretty much. It was almost like, and it's crazy to think if you look back at it, this wasn't supposed to be the original plan. If CM Punk was to stay in the WWE, it would have been CM Punk versus Triple H, and then CM Punk probably would have went on and to have that World Championship moment and everything like that. And Daniel Bryan, believe it or not, was penciled in to schedule if before CM Punk left. Daniel Bryan was supposed to be facing Sheamus at WrestleMania 30. So it's crazy to think how things end up playing out and they pivoted and they couldn't deny Daniel Bryan anymore. This is where the Yes Movement really started to take over WWE to where they could not deny Daniel Bryan anymore. When you stepped into a WWE arena, people were chanting yes. They were chanting for Daniel Bryan. They wanted him in that main event. You go back to 2014 Royal Rumble. It was literally Daniel Bryan or no one. And if you go back to the 2015 Royal Rumble, it was Daniel Bryan or no one. This just showed how much the fans really loved Daniel Bryan. And the fact that we see it go back to 2013, he beat John Cena in a really, really good match for the WWE Championship. He gets his moment for Triple H to turn on him to allow Randy Orton cash in his Money in the Bank contract to become WWE Champion, to start this whole arc of the authority, having people protect Randy Orton because this is when the Shield was being part of the authority at the time. And then you had pretty much Daniel Bryan fighting from underneath, being the underdog from the underground. No, I'm not trying to throw shots at Sammy, but if you want to be honest, Daniel Bryan was the real underdog from the underground, fighting from underneath to get the opportunity for that championship, to only be screwed over in the end by the powers that be. And him being able to overcome all that. And he says this. He calls out Daniel. He calls out Triple H. He says, "Me and you at WrestleMania. The winner faces for the championship. I'm all for it." I in the match cooked. There were times throughout the match where I'm thinking, okay, maybe Triple H, they might pull up a huge upset and have Triple H win. And I'm telling you, if they would have done that, that crowd would have been in an uproar. That crowd probably would have boycotted WrestleMania at that point. You probably had to get out of there because everybody was going to be in an uproar. Fights were probably going to start breaking out. All that. But they went with Daniel Bryan beating Triple H to then go on to compete for the championship and win the WWE World Championship. That WrestleMania 30 will forever be known as where the Yes Movement reached success. This was the show of Daniel Bryan. Honestly, it was known as the Daniel Bryan Show, and all forever will be known as the Daniel Bryan Show. So, the next match that we got to talk about is Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins. You had Seth Rollins going into WrestleMania 38, not knowing what his path would be, not knowing if he was going to have an opponent, and then they do the story arc where he was going to have an opponent for WrestleMania. Vince told him that you will have an opponent at WrestleMania 38, and it will be an opponent of my choosing. And then he goes down to the ring, waiting for his opponent, and it is the return of Cody Rhodes. And at this time, Cody Rhodes has just left AEW, and he's back in WWE, and these two just had instant chemistry. You had a few little jabs in there where you know Cody did the little Stardust thing, which was very cool. And then these two just, I don't know, it just sparked up into a feud. It sparked up into a grueling feud where pretty much, literally, not Punk, literally Cody went 3-0 on Seth Rollins. I at least thought Seth would probably at least get one victory, but that wasn't even the case. So the fact that he came back and made an instant impact by beating one of the best talent on the rosters, somebody who was really realistically carrying the WWE at that time, I was all for it. And I think a lot of fans kind of knew and speculated for quite some time that this probably would be the outcome that we were going to get. And when we did, it was very cool. And on top of that, he came back with a different look, a different presentation. A lot of people thought he was going to come back as, the smoke and mirror Cody Rhodes, or some people thought he's going to come back as Stardust, or whatever the case is. But no, he came back as the American Nightmare. He kept his theme song. He kept everything that he's been doing from AEW, and it came over to WWE, and I loved it. I loved the fact that they went with what they knew would sell, and they knew that this American Nightmare character was going to sell and bring them a lot of money, which it ended up doing. And he ended up becoming one of the biggest stars in the company because of that. And we started to see what his motivation was after coming back after WrestleMania. So I automatically had to put that on there as well. The next match that I'm going to be talking about is from WrestleMania 37. It was a triple threat match between Daniel Bryan, Edge, and Roman Reigns. You had Edge, who won the Royal Rumble. He came back. He's back in the mix for the World Championship almost 10 years to the day that he had to vacate the World Championship. He had an opportunity to win it back. It was going to be Edge versus Roman Reigns. Then you had Daniel Bryan interjecting himself in the feud where he had an opportunity. He felt like he was owed a fair shake because he won the chamber, but only to literally have a 2-minute match with Roman Reigns after he had a grueling Elimination Chamber match. And then he had a match at Fastlane where you had, I think, Edge was the special enforcer, and that kind of ended up shenanigans. So he wanted a fair shake, and all three of these guys cooked in this match. You could have made a case for each and every one of these guys walking out with that championship. You could have made a case for Edge, who 10 years to the day had to vacate it, has winning it back. I wouldn't been mad at it. Daniel Bryan winning the title once again, wouldn't have been mad at it. But no, they went all in on Roman Reigns becoming, and definitely amped up his character as the tribal chief and the head of the table. This guy stacked both Edge and Daniel Bryan in the middle of the ring. One, two, three. After hitting both of them with a concerto, I believe, stacking both of them. This this was just pure. This was a great match all around. But that match is gonna forever be known for that spot specifically, and I loved it. I really did love it. The next match that we're going to be talking about is another triple threat match for the Intercontinental Championship: Gunther versus Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus. This honestly is probably one of the greatest triple threat matches of all time. One of the greatest triple threat matches of all time. Like from start to finish, you had Drew and Sheamus, who had great chemistry. We had Sheamus and Gunther, great chemistry. And then we had Drew McIntyre in the mix. Oh boy, this was going to be an all-out car wreck, and it was. This was an all-out car wreck. It was. It really, really was. And we had literally false finishes after false finishes because anybody could have realistically won this match. We had Gunther, who came in making a statement. He pretty much won the Intercontinental Championship. He's been holding it ever since. And then he was literally came in undefeated. At this point, he was still undefeated. He was literally next to untouchable. You had Sheamus, who was on his quest to become Grand Slam champion, trying to win that Intercontinental Championship, pry it from the hands of Gunther to show everybody he's finally Grand Slam champion. You had Drew McIntyre, who wanted to become Intercontinental Championship again. This match was literally one of the greatest of all time, honestly. And I know that might be a stretch or a hot take or whatever the case is, but realistically, from an in-ring perspective, it really is one of the greatest matches of all time. And if you want to go back to WrestleMania 39, it was literally one of the best matches of that entire weekend. I know you might be saying, what about Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes? That was a good match, absolutely. Charlotte and Rhea was a good match, but that match between Gunther, Drew, and Sheamus took the cake for me as match of WrestleMania 39 weekend. It it was top tier. I'm telling you guys, if you guys have not watched this match, go back and watch it. Go back and watch it and see the carnage and chaos that this match caused all three guys as they fought for the Intercontinental Championship. We have two more matches to kind of go through here. The next one I'm going to talk about is for the tag titles. It is the Usos versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. This this was probably one of the best tag team matches that I've ever seen. Ever seen. I've seen great tag team matches, absolutely, but this was the best tag team match that I have seen ever. The story just made it even better. You had Sami Zayn looking for a belong. He wanted to belong, and he found the bloodline. He ended up joining the bloodline. They were reluctant to have him join at first, and he did. Kevin Owens, we know his story. He's never liked the bloodline. He still doesn't like the bloodline just because of everything that the bloodline has done to him. And he's right in his justification for feeling that way. And he was trying to get Sami Zayn to see the same thing he was seeing, but Sami Zayn was blinded because he wanted to fit in. He wanted to find purpose, and he found purpose within the bloodline, and he had to show his loyalty to the bloodline, and he did that at Survivor Series. Up until that point, Roman Reigns was, was kind of iffy on him, but he was okay with him. Paul Heyman, same thing. Solo Sikoa, well, he was silent at the time. He didn't really talk. Jimmy, he was okay, but Jay did not want him anywhere near the bloodline. He literally told them, if you're not blood, you cannot be around us. And it took all of that. He hated Sami Zayn. Going back to the segment that they had, that he told him, I can't stand you. And then Sami was telling Jay, I'm just here to make peace. And then Jay says, I don't care what the tribal chief says. And we got that stare. That was so cool. That was really cool. But the story that we were getting, he came around. Jey Uso came around to Jey Uso because of the sacrifice he made at Survivor Series. Made his decision, showed his loyalty lie, which was with the bloodline. He low blowed Kevin Owens, allowing Jey Uso and to super kick, and then boom, get the W for the team. The bloodline stood tall at Survivor Series War Games. Therefore, they allowed him into the bloodline. Then you get to Royal Rumble 2023. Kevin Owens, Roman Reigns going at it for the championship. Roman Reigns retained. Then you had Sami Zayn in the corner. You can tell he wasn't all there. It just seemed like as if he was just watching something he didn't really want to see and take place, which he was. And then there you go. Then on top of that, after the match, you had the bloodline come down there and they're continuing to attack Kevin Owens. And then Roman Reigns looks at Sami and said, this is your final test. Hit him with the chair. And he kept just berating Sami, just saying, do it. I brought you into this family. Do it. And he's not your family anymore. We are. And then Sami looks like he's going to turn while Roman has his back turned. And Roman Reigns, I don't understand why he just doesn't understand this lesson, but he needs to stop turning his back on people when they have a chair in their possession. He's got to learn. He's just going to forever have PTSD at this point. He had it with Seth, and then he had it literally with Sami Zayn. Who's next? I don't know. But maybe probably Paul Heyman at this point. I don't know. But still, he's got to stop turning his back on people when they have a chair. But anyway, Sami hits Jay, hits Roman with the chair. Jay is looking at him like, why would you do that? Then you have literally Jimmy just looking irritated. He super kicks him. They attack Sammy, leaving him laying. They walk out. Jay doesn't want any part of this. He leaves for a while. He comes back, and then he turns on Sammy, and then we get this match at WrestleMania 39. And this match was pure cinema. There was close calls towards the end where it looked like maybe the Usos were going to continue their dominant reign as champions, because they were champions for like 600 plus days, making them the longest reigning champions for tag team in modern history and of all time, honestly. So that was a cool thing for them. They were definitely having some killer matches, and this match was no different. And then the we had literally Sammy hit the hula loop kick towards the end, not one, not two, but three times to get the one, the two, and the three on Jey Uso to win the tag team gold for their team. And this was where we started to see the dissension of the bloodline right here, because we were starting to see them lose the gold. They were losing power, and we thought that we were going to see that the very next night, but that was not the case. And then we started to see the Usos started to be outed by the bloodline, and it all started right here. I I had to, to do that. I had to. That match was killer. I enjoyed that match. That's probably one of my favorite matches of all time. And then the final match that we got to talk about on this list is Sasha Banks versus Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch. This match, women's wrestling wise, probably one of the best. And if you want to go back to WrestleMania 32, which was not a good pay per view, I'm gonna be honest, this match was one of the matches that stuck out in a good way from WrestleMania 32. This is where we were starting to see a evolution in the women's division, where they were transitioning from being just literally objects to being taken serious, to trying to be equals as other competitors and getting fair opportunities. It started right here. It started with them and ushering a new era of women's wrestling, when we seen Charlotte come up in 2015, when we seen Sasha Banks come up in 2015, when we seen Becky come in 2015 to shake up the women's division, to really catapult it to where it is now, where they are equals, where they are in high profile matches, where they are getting decent storylines and stuff like that. It started right here. It started right here when we transitioned from the Divas era to the women's era. We got a new overhaul. We got the women's championship instead of the Divas championship. We got rid of that design. I was never a fan of it, but we got that design of the women's championship, and these three cooked. All three knowing each other from the back of their hand, and it showed throughout the match when they were doing certain moves. You had Sasha Banks in the Eddie Guerrero inspired attire, which I loved. You had Charlotte coming out there accompanied by Ric Flair. People still look at her as like just being Ric Flair's daughter, and it showed just being one of the dirtiest players of the game. You had Becky come in, and all three of these women had their first WrestleMania match together, and they killed it. They knocked it out of the park, 10 out of 10. I think the only thing that people didn't really agree with, myself included, I didn't think Charlotte should have won, but we seen what it did for her. I honestly, going into it, I thought we were going to see Sasha Banks win, honestly. I wouldn't have been mad if Becky Lynch would have won, because I think if you would have looked at it, it was mainly between Sasha and Charlotte, and it seemed like as if Becky was kind of somewhat on the outer skirts of this feud, but she still made it work. No matter what they did, they still made this match work. And then you had literally where Charlotte made Becky tap, where Sasha was trying to break it up, and you had Ric Flair literally holding her back, allowing Charlotte to really pretty much become WWE Women's Champion. Hey, I'm not gonna complain. I didn't like the finish, but overall the match was really really good. This is probably one of my favorite matches from WrestleMania. What top three matches from WrestleMania? Because I had other matches on this card or lineup that I put on there for women's matches. So this is definitely my top three for sure. But those are my top 10 WrestleMania matches of all time. Y'all let me know, what are your top 10 favorite WrestleMania matches. Let me know the reason why. Leave it down in the comment section down below. Road to 2,000 subscribers. Ultimate goal is 10,000 by the end of 2025. Super kick that like button, helps my channel get pushed across the platform so more people can see what I'm doing over here on YouTube. Superman Punch, the post notification. Yeah, post notification bell every time I post a new video, where's a reaction video, rant video, live stream, any type of video you can be in a loop of things when I do drop a video. And speed the subscribe button. It takes 3 seconds out of your day to do those 3 things for me. Especially like, hit that like if you want more videos like this as well. Because I'm gonna try to do some more things like this, make this a monthly series where I might do this for maybe Backlash, or maybe I'll do it for Money in the Bank and SummerSlam. Y'all let me know in the comment section down below if you guys want this to become a series. But with that being said, hope everyone has a great Tuesday, a great rest of your week, and I'll see you guys in the next video.